بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We are going to meet a brother from Singapore. He is really a brother in faith. Having a Chinese background, born and raised in Singapore, where Muslims presently constitute about 17% of the population. They are about 44,000 Muslims from various origins: Malay, Indian, Pakistani, Chinese, and all these origins mixed together in one single ummah. Let us meet Brother Nu and ask him some questions about how he became Muslim.
Yes.
Is it first time for you to come to Pakistan?
Yes, my first time.
How do you find the atmosphere here?
Well, for a matter of fact, it's a complete change from the country that I come from. It's a very pleasant, and the people here are very friendly.
Alhamdulillah. I'm sure their presentness is due to their relationship with Islam.
Yeah, to an extent I can say that it's true, because everywhere you go they see people wishing you Assalamu alaikum, the universal greeting of the Muslims.
Please tell us something about your becoming a Muslim. When was it that you first knew about Islam?
And actually it started during my childhood, where I had a Malay who is also a Muslim family. But then during that tender age we didn't care about religion. So we sort of always play around the neighbor, fight, argue. And for a matter of fact, that neighbor didn't portray a very good image, and we didn't have high opinion of them. So as I started to grow older, I have an inclination towards religion. I started to go to the Chinese temple to look at the idols, see how the medium conduct is trance in the temple. And it wasn't to my satisfactory. And I moved on to attend the Hindu temple, where my Hindu friend taught me to worship the elephant god known as Ganesan, and the monkey god known as Murugan, and Shiva, and so on and so forth. But I find it very strange that certain things that I do, I have to speak to something that doesn't answer me. So there was no satisfaction in my sort of quest for religion. And when I reached my secondary education, I was brought to church by my senior assistant teacher in school, who was himself a pastor at the church, a Pentecostal church. And it was there that I learned about Christianity. He taught us how to sing hymns, sing a lot of Christian songs, and we were very happy. But when we went home, the same empty feeling came back to us again. So I was asking myself, could this be the thing that I was looking for? And I had my friend, who was a very stout Christian. He sort of persuaded me and wanted me to be baptized. So we sat in a row during one of the Friday prayer meeting, and the pastor was announcing, for today, anybody would like to be baptized. Actually, before that, I already set my mind that I should be baptized today. But somehow or other, I just found myself glued to the seat, but I could not move. So my friend was on the other hand trying to encourage me. I just couldn't move, and then I just sit there, sort of becoming dumb. So it happened twice, and the third time was I was sitting right in front, the front row, because my friend, my Christian friend, was very convinced that I should go. But that was the worst resistance I found, to be able to go forth within 3 feet, just to be baptized. So I told myself, maybe I should give myself more time, and then I was drafted into the army.
Brother Nu, could you give us some ideas about how you became Muslim? Was it because of your contact with some Muslims, or you tried to discover Islam through reading material, through knowing more about this universal faith given to humanity?
Yes, it all boils down when I was drafted in the army, like I say. Then it was there that I encountered 5 Muslim brothers. One of them was my sergeant. He was a very pious Muslim. He prays 5 times a day right on the dot. And before that encounter with them, I hardly had any chance to speak to any Muslim about their religion. The fact was that when I encountered a Muslim and asked him about, excuse me, are you a Muslim? He said, yes. Could you enlighten me on the religion? Oh no, he won't be able to understand. He saw a shine away from me. And the worst answer I got was, my parents are Muslim, so I'm a Muslim. And I was thinking to myself, my parents are not Muslim, then I have no chance to become a Muslim. But then I reasoned further. If his parents were lawyer, that will make him a lawyer. I mean, he still has to go through the process of learning, acquiring knowledge, to be able to qualify as a lawyer.
Brother, no, I understand you met a Muslim sergeant in your training period in army. Did he really persuade you, or it just came to you that you should become Muslim?
Actually, it was my sergeant friend. They were praying, separated by the cupboards. He arranged it such a way that there is a partition between their prayer place and the main hall in the army camp. So he was in our room. I was the only non-Muslim that was staying inside that room. I think it must be by the grace of Allah that I was placed there. So I hid behind the cupboards and I peeped at how they do their prayer. I found it very natural and I started to imitate them from behind the cupboard. So one day I picked up the courage to ask my sergeant, just could you explain to me what is a religion like? So Alhamdulillah, there you are, I have a sergeant who was very willing to share his religion. And it was my own weakness. I witnessed something in the camp that made me become a Muslim. Because one of the Malay boys was supposed to be a Muslim. When they were praying, he was playing his guitar, smoking away. He didn't give a hint to anything that the sergeant is trying to tell him to pray and all that. He just ignored them. And it was contrary to their behavior. But after about 2 weeks of counseling to that particular Muslim, he changed. He brought his sarong and his sajadah and his cap and every day he pray. So that was how I witnessed the transformation there and then.
Brother Noor, would you mind giving us name of the sergeant with whom you talked about Islam?
Actually his name is Sergeant Amir bin Osman. He didn't persuade me to become a Muslim.
I see. That he was a vehicle to introduce you.
Yeah, he was instrumental in my becoming a Muslim.
I see. When you became Muslim, did you face any problems such as from your family or community?
Yes, I should say that the area where I stay, at the moment before my conversion, I had absolutely no contact with any Muslims at all. And the fact, to make the matter worse, was that the Muslims in my country speak only Malay. And I had a hard time trying to learn from most of the people because they only could speak Malay. And my command of the Malay language was absolutely zero. And Alhamdulillah, it was somehow or other, within a period of 6 months, I was able to adopt the Malay language and speak it quite fluently.
Did you face any difficulties or problems from the local people or any other friends around you since you became Muslim?
Yeah, particularly my community of friends and especially my family.
They did not like the idea.
They associate the religion with the Malays, who sadly didn't portray a right image of Islam. I was kicked out of the house and told to leave if I decided to become Muslim. So my situation was that my father has already passed away. I only have a mother, and she insists on me leaving the house if I so wish to become a Muslim. And she even said that, I disown you. You are no more my son. But somehow or other, the words came to me. I told her, as long as I'm alive, you're still my mother.
Did it affect her? Did she think about her position? Did you try to give her same respect and love, and she felt she was wrong?
In fact, when she drove me out of the house, I left for about 1 month without returning. Because I found that I don't want to agitate her any further.
Yeah, sure.
So I picked up the courage to go back one of the days to pay her a visit. And she seems rather what they call normal and doesn't wish to speak to me. I just greeted her and sat down in the house. And after a while I just asked her how's things going on, and he just replied, "So like that, So that was the first encounter after 1
Is she
month.
still practicing her own religion? Did you try to converse with your mother and suggest to her to become a Muslimah?
The strange thing about my mother is that when I visited her a couple of times, it's been 2 years since I converted. Our relationship has gone back to normal. She even supported me in front of my relatives, who offered me to join them for dinner, and my mom covered up by saying, no, he has taken his dinner. So saved me from explaining that to them. And she told me one thing, don't try to convert me. So I told her that, no, Hidayah is not with me, it's with Allah.
We thank you very much for giving us time and sharing with us in ideas, explaining to us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed you a straight path. We hope with your commitment and involvement, you will be able to convey this message to many other brothers and sisters in Singapore who are also in search of truth. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
May Allah bless you.
Assalamu alaikum. Today we're very lucky to have with us Brother Abdullah from the Philippines. The Philippines often, which is stated to be the only Christian country in Asia, in fact has a very large population of Muslims, over 6 million. But one aspect of the Muslim population which is often not, many people are not aware of, is the growing number of Filipinos who are returning to the original religion of the country, which is the religion of Islam. Today, there are about 30,000 returnees to Islam in the Philippines. And our brother here is one brother, Abdullah, who found Islam through reading books. Let us hear a little bit of his story. Brother Abdullah, could you tell me a little bit how you first came into contact with Islam and Muslims?
My first contact with Islam and Muslims was during my school days. We read in the school books that the Muslims are very bad people. They are headhunters. So I have no idea of the correct Islam before. And then when I'm studying the Bible, because I wanted that those Muslims were to be converted to Christianity, so that they will stop killing the non-Muslims. So during my studies, I was confused with many verses of the Bible. There are many conflicting ideas, and the dogma of the church does not conform with the teachings of the Bible. So I said to myself that the communist concept that religion is the opium of the masses is true. So I abandoned religion. I don't believe the religion anymore. Then sometimes I'm thinking why the planets do not collide each other. And sometimes the trees, I was observing the fruits, the guavas. Why do they bear the same fruits, guavas? Why don't they bear different fruits if the creation is accident? So my faith in God returned to me. I said there must be a creator. He is almighty. But what religion? So I searched. I came into contact with Hinduism, and I found it theistic. There is God of fire, God of water. No, this is not the right religion. And I came into contact with Buddhism. I said to myself that this will not lead to salvation. It will lead men to perdition. Then I searched another religion. I came into contact with Judaism, and I said that Judaism cannot be the religion of humanity, because it is for the Israel race alone. So it cannot be. Then I came into contact with Shintoism.
From Japan.
Yeah, Japan. And Shintoism is the worship of the soul of their forefathers. So I said, what religion now? I was to give up. Then one day, one of my classmates is holding a book, Islam, Our Choice. I saw that.
What's the name of the book? Islam Our Choice?
Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
And then I borrowed it. And upon seeing the addresses of the back cover, I copied them. So I requested books. Then the books arrived. My thinking is the same, that I thought it's the same religion that I studied before. But then I'm reading it like that. This is what I believe. So I decided to embrace Islam.
After reading the book,
Yeah.
because it contained what you thought should be in religion.
And the same with what I believe. But my problem is how to become a Muslim. So I wrote the World Federation of Islamic Mission here in Karachi, Pakistan, and asked them how could I become a Muslim. They sent me a poem.
I see.
Yeah, I filled it up. But the problem again, there must be 2 Muslim witnesses. I did not yet meet a Muslim. So I wrote them back again, told them, and they said, Allah is enough
As a witness.
as a witness. Then what should be my Muslim name? And brother Abu Mushashi of Shalkot, Pakistan, suggested the Islamic name Abdullah, a slave of Allah. So I was very glad to become a slave of Allah.
And then you started to perform all the Islamic duties as a Muslim?
Slowly studying. And I was very happy. I feel like myself was liberated. And very happy to tell everyone I met that Islam, that is my great mistake.
Your great mistake?
Yes, because suddenly the whole community was against me.
There are no Muslims where you live?
Yeah, no Muslim. Then my family started to torture me. They are forcing me to recant Islam. But I refused. So they forced me to work as slave. Sometimes when my brother comes home and drunk, he will punish us by putting a rope in my hand and feet, dip in the oil. When I have drunk too much water, he will hang me. You know, sometimes.
So you had a lot of difficulties in your early experience as a Muslim.
But I managed to convert 4 of my nephews.
4 of your nephews?
Yeah. But this made them very angry.
The other members of your family?
Yeah, the whole family members. And the 2 of my nephews who embraced Islam, they sent them away to a missionary school. And later on, the other 2 managed to escape. We don't know where they are now.
You are married?
Yes.
Your wife is Muslim? Is your wife Muslim? Was she Muslim before you married or after you married?
After our marriage, she became a Muslim.
Is she facing the same difficulties that you faced in your community?
Yes. Like the wearing of hijab. Because the people there, it's the first time to see a woman wearing hijab. Said, what happened to you? Are you crazy? Or you don't have hair? Are you sick? And then
What do you see of the future?
I see that the future of Islam in our province is very good. Because once the people can understand what is Islam, they will embrace it. The problem there is the misconception about Islam. They thought the Muslims are the people of Mindanao only.
I see.
Yeah, I tell them that there are Muslims from the other parts of the country, say America like that. They will think I'm crazy.
Thank you, Brother Abdullah, for being with us here today. Dear listeners, this was a very interesting talk with one of our new Muslim brothers, from one of a growing number of returnees to Islam in the Philippines. Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We will be meeting in a while one of our brothers, Haji Fadlullah Wilmot, who comes originally from Australia and has been for over 2 decades an active Muslim. Brother Haji Fadlullah presently resides in Malaysia and has been editing a journal which publishes Islamic items and reaches out Muslim communities. Brother Haji Fadlullah has been associated with various international conferences and programs. We will be asking him about some of his earlier experiences in Islam. Brother Haji Fadlullah, would you kindly tell us about some of your early encounters? Although I know very well, it's not easy to recall many experiences, but there are some which you can never forget. Can we hear from you how you came across Islam?
My first encounter with Islam was at a university, must have been about 25 years ago, when I was a student in first year in psychology, but we have to take a minor in history. And the history course that year was the history of the Renaissance of Europe. So in this history it talks about Saracens in Spain and in passing, but then one sees from the history that these Saracens in Spain played a very important role in European history, but it's not clearly stated what it is. So I'm a person that never takes anything for granted. I always want to find out what is behind everything. So I looked at the references and I found more about these Saracens in Spain. And slowly I found out that these Saracens were in fact Arabs, Muslims, and without them Europe could not have emerged from the Dark Ages. Without them, Europe, not only in the scientific field, but even as far as knightly chivalry is concerned, was learnt from the Muslims of Spain, where the Arabic poetry was translated into Provence French, and then it was called the Roland de Chaume, and then it was spread to the rest of Europe. So the whole concept of the dignity of women, knightly chivalry, is also a concept brought to Europe by women. So basically, I found out that European civilization would not have been possible if it had not been for the Muslim contribution in Spain.
I can understand you had a very good study of Islam before you became fully involved, but it appears as if your journey to Islam was more intellectual. Can you also tell us about any individuals who might have come across through whom you might had some ideas about Islam?
I think perhaps this is partially true. After studying this contribution that Islam made to humanity, then I wanted to see more about Islam, and I read the Quran in English. And I saw 3 important things that struck me about this Quran. And I was a student, so one of the important things that struck me is no internal contradictions. Secondly, no contradictions with science. And thirdly, which appeared different from the religions that I had been in contact with up to that time, was there was no conflict, there was no sort of limiting of religion to a small aspect of life, but it encompasses the whole of human life. So this made me more interested. And about this time, I did come in contact with some Muslims. In fact, in my university, at that time there were only 3 Muslims in the whole state of Tasmania. There was one brother from Pakistan, one from Indonesia, and one from Malaysia, all living in a flat. They happened to be living close to my flat. So during Ramadan, I saw these people, and I thought, silly people, starving themselves. I thought, what a silly thing to do. But they were very polite and very nice and clean and very nice people. So I started talking with them and discussing things with them. And slowly they explained to me why they were fasting and what was the purpose of fasting. And they mentioned about Islam. I said, yes, I know a little bit about Islam. I've read about it in the books. And then they discussed more with me. And they said, well, look, you're really a Muslim, you know. And I said, well, don't be silly. I've never even thought about that. And they said, look, you believe that God is one. You believe that Muhammad is a prophet of God. Yes, I said, no doubt. It's correct. So you're a Muslim? No, I said, it's not. I'm not a Muslim. And it took another 6 months or so of discussion over this 5-year period. So it took another 6 months to really sort of become aware that Islam was my religion. And then immediately on becoming Muslim, I started to pray and carry out the other duties of Muslim. And then I developed my personal relationship with my Creator.
You mentioned a while ago that you were studying the Quran, and it was through the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed you guidance. Would you think that instead of looking around for Muslims in their behavior, one should look directly into the Quran in search of guidance?
I would answer in 2 ways. Yes, he should go direct to the Quran, but perhaps he needs some preparation also, because perhaps a better approach would to deal with certain themes of the Quran. If I had not had my preparation, I might not have been able to deal with the Quran in one shot. So perhaps it's not the best thing to go direct without any sort of guidelines. Secondly, I think the personal example of Muslims is also important. Perhaps I would not really have got to know Islam if I had not met Muslims. So one cannot separate the Quran from Muslims. It cannot be purely an intellectual approach, because one has to see Islam in operation. And unless one sees Islam in operation, how can one believe in an ideal which is not practicable?
I'm very glad that you mentioned so many things about your earlier experiences, but do you think that this light which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown you through Islam, this should also reach others? What is your message to those who have not yet discovered this light?
The message is that the only satisfactory solution to all the problems of mankind is Islam. And therefore it is the duty of Muslims to give this message of happiness, contentment, and realization to the whole of mankind.
Thank you very much, Brother Haji Fadlullah. It has been an honor and pleasure for us to be with you, to share with you in some of your ideas, and to get a direct view from you about your early experiences and your advice to those who are seeking light.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. May Allah's blessing and peace be on you. Welcome to the program From Darkness to Light. Today we have a very special guest, a young brother who is hardly 13, coming from Canada, joining us in this series on From Darkness to Light. Brother Jalaluddin comes originally from Canada, and presently he is living in Pakistan. We are privileged to have him with us and to share with him in some of our ideas on what has attracted him towards Islam. Jalaluddin, can you tell us, when did you come to know about Islam? How many years ago?
When I was small, my father came to Islam,
Uh-huh.
so I was living with him.
Mm-hmm.
I also accepted Islam.
Mm-hmm. And that was in Canada?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, I went with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, my mother, she was a Muslim, but then she became a kafir. So I went with her, and then I forgot about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
I was not very old. And then after my father came, and he told me to come with him, and so I came, and again I am a Muslim. After 2 days, I started praying
Mm-hmm.
again,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought me to Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am now.
Have you studied the Quran or its meaning?
Yes,
How? With English translation or
with Spanish translation,
Spanish translation?
and
I
also
see.
the English.
And also English. Have you studied also some Arabic text of the Quran? Can you read the Quran in Arabic?
Yes, I
You
can
can?
read it, but not very well.
Uh-huh. Have you memorized any portions of the Quran?
Yes, two quarters of the last para.
Oh, that's excellent. Can you recite some part for us? For example, the 30th para from the beginning,
Yes.
please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وحاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا.
Sadaqallahu al-Azim. I think that's excellent. I haven't heard many young children reciting that good as you have done. Do you also know its meaning? What does it mean?
Yes, I know some of the meanings, but this one, why do the people question themselves?
Question about the big news, the
Yes.
coming of the end of the world,
Yes.
the big news.
And
Mhm.
I don't know why that's mean. This one,
Well,
I can't
it's
remember.
okay. Have you studied any other books on Islam?
My father has read me some hadiths,
Uh-huh.
and I read the book of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Do you find it convenient to be a Muslim, or you think it's difficult to be a Muslim?
No, it's not very difficult.
Do you
But
think?
it's for a new Muslim, he would think it is hard when he thinks it's 5 prayers. It would be
Uh-huh.
very much.
Mhm.
It's not very hard though.
Mhm. What are the benefits you feel that come out of prayer? Do you think it gives you some comfort? It gives you satisfaction? It helps you in understanding your responsibilities better?
Well, when you pray to God, you must pray to God. He
Mhm.
has ordered that to do.
Do you talk about Islam with your age group, some other students? Have you discussed with them about Islam?
Not yet.
Do you have any other brothers and sisters who are Muslims in your family?
Don't have brothers. I have one sister.
Oh, does she also practice Islam?
Yes, she knows. She's been a Muslim for more than 6 years.
What's her name?
Mahinur,
Mahinur. You know what's the meaning of Mahinur?
light with moon.
That's good. That's good. And has she also memorized some Quran?
5 paras.
Excellent. Excellent. And she recites as good as you did?
25 miles per hour.
Oh, that means She recites faster? I see. And what are your plans? You are going to school now?
Inshallah, I will be going.
What do you do in your free time? You read books or you play or...
Well, I read Quran. Then, the last few days ago, I was flying kites and reading Quran.
And you find that in Pakistan, while you are staying here, it's comfortable for you to be a Muslim?
Well, anywhere I am, inshallah, I will be a Muslim, inshallah.
Okay. Well, thank you, my brother Al-Din. We are so glad you could give us some time and share with us your ideas, and also, as a young Muslim, show to many others that Islam has an appeal not only for the adults, not only for the old ones, but Islam has a message for every young person. Everyone who wants to know the truth will have an answer from the Quran and from the Hadith. Well, we thank you again. May Allah bless you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala khatimil anbiya. Welcome to From Darkness to Light. Today we have one of our guests, a brother from Canada, Brother Yusuf. Brother Yusuf has been in Pakistan for a while and has been visiting a number of places. From his appearance he looks like an Afghan, but he is originally from Canada. It is only the blessing of Islam that whether you come from Canada or from Afghanistan, your appearance, your faith, your behavior, your responses, all are controlled by one single book, the Quran, and one single practice, the practice of al-Salatu was-Salam. We'll be asking Brother Yusuf about his journey to Islam and understand for ourselves what was most attractive for him in this new faith. Brother Yusuf, can you give us some idea? When did you become Muslim and how?
I became Muslim in 1974. First I was attracted to Islam through reading, I can say. Particularly I read excerpts of the Masnawi of Jalaluddin Rumi, and excerpts of Ihya Ulumuddin and Kashf al-Mahjub by Data Ganj Bakhsh al-Hujwiri, Ahmad al-Hujwiri. And after my interest was first developed an interest in through the reading, I met Muslims in Canada, particularly a professor who was in the Islamic Studies Department of the University of Toronto, who was giving frequent public lectures. So through his talks and through his fine personality, I was attracted to Islam and accepted at his hand some 13 years ago.
And during this period, you were in Canada or you were traveling anywhere?
Until 1983, I was in Canada, in the company of the same professor and the Muslim community in Canada. In 1984, I went to Libya, spent a year there, and thereafter came to Pakistan.
Did you read any important tafsir of the Quran to understand what the Quran means?
Until now, that I know of, there's no tafsir in English language.
How about hadith?
Yes,
Some
I've read
sayings of al-Salatu was-Salam.
Yes, Mishkat and Riyadh Salihin,
Good.
Bukhari, Abu Dawud.
Good. Do you think that for a new Muslim living in Canada or America or elsewhere is difficult, or you think it's much convenient to have an Islamic atmosphere or a traditional kind of atmosphere as you find in Pakistan?
I think it's extremely difficult and also humiliating and not desirable. I think it's very important for a new Muslim to leave the Dar al-Kufr, to spend a long time in the
And then return.
Muslim countries, and then if he wants to spread Islam, then he may return. But I don't think in the Sharia we have any excuse for living in the non-Muslim countries except provisional reasons.
That means generally when you are living in a Muslim atmosphere, then you get reinforcement, you can practice things better. But I understand Islam is universal message, and therefore it has equal appeal for a new Muslim, a non-Muslim, and a born Muslim. If this is so, then do you think that when new Muslims come and just start living in an already existing Muslim society, that will bring any change?
No, it is necessary for Muslims to go to the non-Muslim countries for the spread of Islam. But a new Muslim, first of all, has to look after learning Islam properly himself. And even more important, he has to look after the education of his children and his dependents, especially women and children.
Yes, now I understand your point very well. Have you been able to talk with non-Muslims about Islam while you were in Canada or elsewhere?
Yes.
And what was their response?
In Canada, people generally are quite shocked. They've never imagined anything, let alone heard of such a thing. They think that Muslims are generally, they think of Islam as only terrorism. As something that threw up from the medieval times, something that's dying out. So when they see a person who like them, who knows the Western life inside out, also an educated person, then they can't understand such a thing. It's really quite a shock for them. But I found I've spent a lot of time in Mexico, and I found in these countries there's quite a different reaction. In these countries, the people don't have prejudices about Islam. So they listen to Islam. When they ask questions, when I was in Mexico, the people would ask me what religion I am. And they would want to know where they can get books about Islam. And the more I told them, the more interested they became.
I see you are wearing a turban which is a sunnah. Did you find any difficulty by wearing this dress in Western countries? Does it make them curious? Do they come out and ask any silly questions to you?
Yes, indeed. On the one hand, it creates some hassle, but on the other hand, it's an advertisement for Islam, and those people who can benefit by talking with me will approach me, and those who won't, who would never listen, of course, they will ridicule me.
Tell us something about your educational background. Where did you go to school?
I finished my BSc from the University of Guelph in 1978.
With major subjects
in agriculture. Pest management was my specialization. And part of my high school was spent in one of the best boarding schools in Canada. That was the St. Andrews College of Aurora, Ontario.
Besides meeting some Muslims and reading books which you mentioned earlier, like Kashful Mahjoob and Masnavi of Maulana Rum, what is the most significant aspect you feel in Islamic teachings which attracts a Westerner?
I think it's the spiritual dimension which most attracts Westerners. And in my experience, most most Muslims have come to Islam through the writings of the Islamic spiritual masters like Jalaluddin Rumi.
You find that there is a kind of a spiritual vacuum in Western culture where perhaps there is too much emphasis on materialism, and that's why people think writings like Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi's and others, which provide a kind of opening up for the self, a discovery for a new dimension in life, becomes more interesting for people.
Absolutely. Tremendous spiritual emptiness. In the city of Toronto, where I spent most of my life, 3,000 people a year commit suicide. Population of the city is about 3 million. People are seeking an answer, are seeking to escape from this emptiness in any way. They take drugs, they womanize, they drink, they experiment with black magic, they experiment with Zen, the religion of Zen, with Buddhism. They try anything and everything to escape from this emptiness.
But do you think some of them will take Islam also as an escape, or Islam gives them something real?
Well, that's the difference. Islam is real.
So those who enter Islam with a spiritual aspect, they stay as Muslims and their life changes.
Absolutely.
What changes appear in life usually? In your own experience, you must have met a number of persons who became Muslims. What changes were introduced in their lives by Islam?
Change was change of night and day. Everything changes in a person when he accepts Islam.
And have you been able to talk with your own family, relatives about Islam? What was their response?
Yes, I've talked with my family, but it's too strange a thing for them. Nobody has accepted this, and they think of me as very strange.
But your children?
Only my children.
Your children? They became very good Muslims.
They were practically born into a Muslim house, because my son was only 3 months old when I embraced Islam. And my daughter was born after my Islam.
I see. That's very good. What's your plan? Do you want to become a missionary for Islam, going out and propagating Islam, or you want to write, or you want to...
Yes, I would like to do these things, but I feel that I have to learn more about Islam, particularly Arabic language and ulum ad-din, before I can do such a thing properly.
Brother Yusuf, it's very interesting to know from you about your early involvement with Islam, but since Alhamdulillah you have been a Muslim for quite a while now, please tell us, do you face any problems, any difficulties since you became Muslim from members of your earlier family, your friends, or while you are in Pakistan, any problems relating with your children's education, problems of adjustment and so on?
Yes, sir, considerable problems, of course, for a new Muslim. And this is the time of Waqt al-Fitan. Worldly problems and also educational problems. A new Muslim has a great enthusiasm for his religion. He wants also his children to be educated properly. It's difficult to find proper arrangements for education of children nowadays. Either, on the one hand, we have Western style schools, which are purely materialistic, and on the other hand, we have Islamic schools, which don't present the whole tradition. So mostly they're treating tajweed of Quran, not Arabic and all the other sciences, and they don't. These schools don't train the children to be able to manage in this world. It's not a school that can give a child both Islamic education and necessary knowledge to survive in the modern world.
I understand Toronto has several Islamic centers There is one big Islamic center which used to be a church some time ago. There are several others. Are they not conducting any programs for young children, for adults who become Muslims, and don't they help in those areas?
Up until 1984, nothing very functional was available in Toronto. I don't know if they've started anything yet, but if they have, it's only in a very small way. Toronto is a very big city. It's necessary that the schools be available in the vicinity where one lives.
In your view, what can be done by Dawa Academy or by us from Pakistan to help our brothers in those areas?
Just as you say, you can help by supporting schools, schools in those Islamic centers.
Have you memorized some parts of the Quran for yourself?
Yes, some of the surahs that have been
Can you
mentioned
recite a
specifically.
shorter surah for us,
Oh yes.
please?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم صدق الله العظيم.
Although it's only by chance, but you have picked up a surah which talks very specifically about takasur, the extravagance, the affluence, the unnecessary development of material means around people, the desire to have more and more and to have much glamour and things that only shine. I hope that what you have said is very much relevant with what we discussed earlier, and it is the Quran telling us that people who are so much absorbed in this kind of material living, they will discover that this is only a facade, this is only an appearance, and the real faith, which is based on yaqeen, that is confidence in truth, that is real verified knowledge, that is what is ultimately given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be discovered by them. Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to have Brother Yusuf with us. We have learned a lot from his resume about his encounter with Islam and entering Islam, particularly the way he has been able to educate his children in Islamic message. They have memorized the Quran, they know the meaning of Quran, and that gives us an idea that for new Muslim brothers, it is not difficult to learn Quran themselves as well as to teach Quran to their family. The Quran is that light, is that book which guides everyone, which helps everyone. The only thing which needed is sincerity. If one is sincere, he will be able to get a response, and that response will change and transform whole of life. Every aspect of human behavior will be changed into a true Islamic practice once we look towards the Quran and the example of Al-Salatu Wassalam. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again in the program From Darkness to Light.